Hi Eddie, the draw for the quarterfinals, the FA Cup made the day after you beat Blackburn on penalties. What was your reaction when you saw that it was Manchester City away?
Well, I was driving at the time. I almost swerved off the road. Yeah, it wasn't the draw we wanted, that's for sure. I don't think any team wants to. That's got to be a fine, isn't it? Wants to play Manchester City 4 times in a season, but look, we'll look forward to the game. I believe we can beat anybody when we're at our best, and we've had 3 really tight games against them this year.
It's probably in keeping with the cup draws that you've had this season, not just a tough match, but in the FA Cup sense, and another away tie. But if you are going to go all the way, you probably have to beat at least one of the best teams, don't you?
Yes, I think when you then have time to analyse things and go through it like you do mentally, I think you realise that to win the FA Cup, you're probably going to have to beat Manchester City at some stage in the competition. So that's been moved forward from our view, and I just think we have to look at it as we have to give everything to try and win, and it will be difficult, but we can do it.
At Blackburn the other night, we saw Elliot Anderson for the first time in 4 months. It's been clearly a tough time for him and a long road back. Can you talk to us about how you managed to get him back seemingly quite quickly, because he probably played a bit sooner than maybe we were expecting? He came on and scored a penalty and played an important part in that victory.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't a quick from our side or from Elliot's. He's been hugely frustrated that he hasn't been able to kick on sooner and return to training sooner. I think it was the type of injury where he had to be very, very patient, which is hugely frustrating when you can't run. He felt okay, but just with that type of injury, he had to be very, very careful. And we had to be careful with him. But then when he started his rehab and started back on the grass, he looked really good, and he's felt fine. So yeah, the last stage of his injury, I think, has been pretty quick, and we were very keen to get him on the pitch with penalties in mind. And I think that was, we see him every day, and he practices penalties, he executes them very well. But still, he had to come in relatively cold. He was only on for 5 minutes, and then had to have the composure for such a young player to execute it, and he did superbly.
He was brilliant for you in pre-season, and then he was featuring quite regularly up until the injury, including a couple of times in the Champions League. What sort of role do you see him having between now and the remainder of the season? Because he is just back from a long injury layoff.
Yeah, very similar to Joe Willock, really, and a couple of the other players that we've got. He's technically fit, but he's maybe not in the condition that we need him to be to play regularly. So we're going to have to nurse him back. We're going to have to look after him because we want him to stay fit. He's been a huge miss for us because of his versatility. You can see that to have his ability to play wide, to play central, creative, goal scorer. When you miss him and Joelinton at the same time, a lot of the versatility of the squad goes, and your ability to chop and change things. So great to have him back.
Wolves, your opponents this weekend, are now above you in the Premier League table, and they've been on a pretty good run of late. What threats will they pose, will they bring?
They will bring definitely a counter-attacking threat. I think they've got some very, very good athletes in their team. They play quite a fluid style, a lot of rotations and interchanging of positions. I think Gary's done a brilliant job, as he did last year. And they're very good away from home as well. I think their away record recently, they've just beaten Chelsea, Tottenham, so dangerous opponents for us. But we had a really good game against them, tight game against them away, which was a game we could have won. And we're confident going into the game.
Okay. Keith?
Eddie talks about Elliot Anderson there, but also good the other night to see both Alex Isak and Joe Willock play an hour. Where are they with their respective recoveries? Are they close to 100%?
I think they're getting there. I think Alex will get there with every game. I mean, his situation is slightly different to Joe. You know, Alex has had a groin problem now, I think 3 times. So I think naturally there's maybe a feeling that he's he needs confidence. He needs confidence in his body. He needs confidence physically with how he's performing in the games. I think prior to his last injury against Aston Villa, he was looking really, really good, and out of nowhere, really, and no real action, he felt something again. So I think these 2 games have been really good for him to help him feel that his body is strong. Certainly all the work behind the scenes, he's been good. And I'd like to think he'll improve with every game from this point onwards. Joe's slightly different, but just because of the length of time that he's been out. And of course, we're trying to nurse him back to full fitness. We're trying to get him back to full fitness as quickly as possible. I think that will take a period of time before he's back to his very, very best. Just with the length of time he's been out, difficult to put a time frame on it. But certainly he's got qualities that, even if he's not 100% fit, that we need. And just when he's played the last 2 games, I think you've seen his qualities within the game.
Although it gives their teammates competition for places, they must get a real boost seeing players of that quality coming back into the squad for the run-in.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think when you look at our training group, sometimes this season we've had 14, 15 players. Now we're just slightly over 20, which has been a brilliant thing for us to have sort of the full strength. And as you say, it's when you go out on the training pitch and you see good players everywhere. The whole group's been lifted by that. So, as I say, our challenge is to get them back to full fitness as quickly as possible, while looking after them respectively individually.
You left out Sven Botman during the week. How is he looking ahead of the weekend?
Yeah, Sven's looking good. Sven, we just felt would benefit more from training than playing. He's another player that's come back from a longer term injury, back into the team, and we just felt he needs more individualised training to hopefully get back to his very best levels.
So we could see him tomorrow?
Yeah, we could see him.
Yeah. And when you just look at the challenge that you face, I suppose, as the head coach, and you compare it to last year going for the top 4 and the year before that trying to stay in the league, how different does this challenge represent for you and your players compared to your first 2 seasons?
It doesn't feel any different, to be honest, Keith. From my side, I sort of understand the question, but I think you're just trying to win every game, and that's what we were doing last year and the season before, and that's what we're going to try and do this year. The pressures are absolutely the same, and the determination to try and win consistently is the same. So I don't look at it any differently.
And just on the cup draw, I know you touched on it there with Razor, but does it kind of encapsulate your season really? When you look at the cup draws, you think of the injuries. There's some stats that came out this week that showed that Newcastle, in terms of the amount of days they've lost to injuries, are way above everyone else in the so-called league table. Do those cup draws, and even in the FA Cup, all 4 ties have been away from home, does that encapsulate the kind of luck that you've had to face this season?
Yeah, I've got to be careful how I answer that one, because I don't want to get a violin out and start feeling sorry for myself, and absolutely not. The cup draw it's random. You get who you get, and we now have to make the best of that situation. So I'm certainly not a person that sits there and has that mentality really and goes, what everything's against us. I sort of want that feeling internally that everything's against us, and I want to use that positively. But certainly, it's a cup draw. We're in it, and that's the beauty. We're still in the competition. We're not beaten yet, and we'll keep fighting till the end.
Thanks, Andy. Well, Neddy, penalty shootouts nerve-wracking enough for the fans. So I wonder how that sort of penalty shootout affects a manager's sleep patterns when you finish so late, and it is like that. How does it affect you?
No, I think the sleep patterns were fine, because obviously it was a positive outcome in the end. I think it's a surreal feeling, a penalty shootout for a manager. I've had them as a player. I only had 2 that I remember anyway. Two that I was involved in where I took a penalty, and you have a feeling of control. I scored 2 out of 2, so I have to get that out there. But as a manager, is the sort of the only moment in a game where I've felt, and I've had a few now in my career, where you're totally helpless. You name obviously the takers, and then that's it. Then you're watching like everybody else. You almost become like a supporter, and it's a horrible feeling, because you know that a lot rests on the outcome, and that's where I have to credit the players, because Chelsea was a difficult shootout for us. But this time the players, starting from Fabi when he took the first one, and the way that he took it, I mean, that's his unique style, and he took it very well. To then to all the takers and to Martin deserve a lot of credit because under big pressure.
Speaking of the penalty shootout, one of the stranger things I saw on social media was Sandro Tonali apparently watching it on FaceTime with someone in the stand. What do you make of that, of him watching it in that manner, but also it kind of encapsulates, I suppose, the connection that he's building at this club, the fact that he wants to be so close to the action?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bizarre one. I don't really know what to say to that. The fact that he's watching is a brilliant thing for us because he's obviously involved emotionally. He's there with us. And yeah, anything that we can do to engage the attachment between him and the supporters is much welcome.
And obviously, you know, with the injuries, with the cup draws, etc., you've talked about it already, but how much, I suppose the word is character, is this season dragging out of the team? And how would you define that character at the moment?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. I think we've been challenged a lot through this season. Nothing's come easy to us. We've had to grind our way to get everything that we have to this point. And maybe in hindsight now, looking back, it was slightly different the year before, where everything seemed to go our way. But I think in some senses you can help create that internally. You can help create that good luck by your work you do. You don't have no control over the cup draws and who you play. But I believe in the qualities that we have. And if we're going to be, in the end, part of cup competitions, elite competitions, you're always going to be playing good teams. So I think we have to get used to that.
Martin Dubravka said after the game on Tuesday that it is a result that naturally helps to build confidence amongst the team. Do you feel that the confidence is slightly below what you'd want it to be at the minute, and how do you build that back up?
Yeah, I do. I think for various reasons. I think we've last season, as I said, was a totally different season. We were rolling into games one after the other in a good feeling without even blinking, really. And we built that momentum within our season. Now it's been so fragmented this year. It's been stop-start. And I do think we've got some very, very, very good players here. I think we've got a great character within the squad. The spirit is still exactly the same. But confidence can be such a difficult thing to find. And the only way to get it is to win games consistently. And if you win games consistently, then suddenly it's you feel unbeatable again. And we're not in that moment now. That's clear. But we can get back there with the right attitude and continuing to work hard behind the scenes. And then you can create that yourself.
And just finally, with so few games left, is there a feeling that you can't really afford to drop too many easy points at home necessarily if you're going to make European spots? Yeah,
I don't think we can drop too many points, whether it's home or away. There is no such thing as easy points, let me tell you, in the Premier League. It is relentless division. But we know that we're running out of chances. So we have to, we have to start Saturday, really.
That's it. Thanks, Andy.
Damien and Lee Ryder. Eddie, you talked earlier about the different challenges you've had in each of your 3 seasons. As a manager, are you able to enjoy them the same, or is there greater frustration? Or
enjoyment's a strange word in management. It is. I mean, I think you always, and I've always said this, you can enjoy it in hindsight. Say in 6 months' time, I can look back at this season and go, wow, what a season for us. That was really good. It helped us in various ways. We implemented things behind the scenes that made us stronger, etc., etc. But when you're in the moment and you're battling certain situations, I don't know if I can sit here and go, this is enjoyable in that second. Obviously, I enjoy the job and I enjoy managing this unbelievable football club. But it's definitely been a difficult season.
And in terms of what remains this season, is it almost that you have to have like a mental reset now and play what remains as a mini season in itself?
Yeah, I think you're always having sort of a mental reset going into every game. It's like this is a fresh game. This is another opportunity for us to get back to our best performance levels. I think that's what we're all searching for. And I don't think we're a million miles away. I've seen signs that we can get back to our very, very best levels. Certainly helps with the players returning to full fitness.
Eddie, as a manager, I mean, everyone's talked about adversity this season, all the injuries, suspensions, stuff like that. But as a manager, is it almost your default setting to be able to cope with that? Because it's never going to be smooth running, is it?
Well, I think my management career in general has never been smooth. I think you go back to my start point. where I was not thrown in, that's the wrong word. I was taking on a challenge that was one of the hardest I'll ever have. So my management career, starting right from the depths of League Two to where I am now, I think has served me really well in dealing with perceived adversity, challenging times. I've had them all through my career. This is nothing new, it's just on a bigger scale.
So going back to that sort of Bournemouth period, is it tougher at the top or tougher at the bottom?
I think they're different. I don't know if one's tougher than the other in a sense of the job itself. When you have to get results, you have to get results regardless of what league you're in, what position you're in. Sometimes you've just got to find a way to win, and we're in that moment now where we're running out of time. We have to start winning consistently, and that's what everyone at the club wants.
And does this season almost define your time at Newcastle compared to last? Because obviously it's so imperative you get that strong finish.
I don't know what defines my time at Newcastle. I think that you can only say that at the end. I think we've had some amazing times so far. I don't think that can be forgotten. I'm sure it won't be. But this season is a new one, and you're judged on this season. So I'm prepared to accept that. But it's not over. We're still in there fighting.
Thanks. Dominic and then Jordan.
You spoke previously about learning from the injury situation, bouncing back from the adversity, and getting stronger because of it. Do you still believe that, or are you confident that things can turn around for the better?
Are you talking in the...
Just previously, when you had a lot of injuries, you said the side will come through this stronger. Now there's fewer injuries. Do you still believe that? Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I mean, we have a very strong squad of players when everyone's fit. A really, really good squad. I don't think that can be underestimated. But of course, to see that full strength, you need everyone in their best condition. And even then, when everyone's in their best condition, there's still no guarantee of results in the Premier League because the competition's so hard. But certainly give us a better chance, and I believe in the players wholeheartedly. I believe we can be a special team. I hope we can get to see that very soon.
Is Kieran Trippier all right as well, because you took him off after 90 minutes of the night, and he would be a shoo-in to take a penalty?
Yeah, Kieran's fine.
And another one, just Matty Longstaff secured a move. How happy are you for him?
I'm delighted for him. What an inspirational character. Of course, we've got close connections with the family, with Sean, and with Matty. We've tried to look after him as best we could to get him back to full fitness. He's worked incredibly hard here, and he is an infectious guy, and we wish him all the best.
Last touch point, Elliot Anderson returned to squad against Blackburn. Is there a possibility Matt Talbot will be involved against us because they're sort of on a similar time scale?
Yeah, they're on a similar time scale, but different injuries, and I think Matty might need a little bit more time to be back involved with the squad, just due to the fact his injury was hamstring, a muscle injury. But he is back training with the group.
You spoke with him about Sven needing time to get back to his best levels after so long out. Does the same apply to Harvey Barnes, given he was out for I think 4 months as well?
Yeah, and I think this is the situation that we're in. We have players back fit and available, but they do need time to get back to their best. I think I probably speak more educated than anyone on this. I had injuries galore in my career and came back at different times, with some with less training than other times, but it always took me, and I knew within myself, it took me weeks to get back to my best levels. It's just that repetition of training and playing before you find your rhythm again. And I think we have players in that boat, but it doesn't mean they can't contribute and they can't play well and we can't win games. It's just to get back to their absolute best, I think you need that period of training behind you.
Chris and then Craig.
Morning, Eddie. I mean, obviously, the home form throughout most of your time here has been brilliant, but in the last couple of months you haven't won since mid-December. I know you've had fewer games there, but how much of frustration has that been for you, the home form?
Yeah, no, it has. I think, as you say, our home form's been very, very consistent. We've been excellent. I think it's been a really difficult place to come and play for the opposition throughout my time here. I think the last few games have been frustrating because possibly in months gone by there were games that we would have won or found a way to win. For whatever reason, they're games that we didn't win. But I think looking back on those games, it was important we also didn't lose those games, and we showed the battling, fighting qualities to come back and from losing positions, which is great to see. I'd like to see us, of course, return to our best form at home. I think the environment that we've had to play in has been incredible. I have to thank the supporters for that. We haven't seen us win for a while, but they're still backing us and supporting the players in the time that they're playing, and hopefully that will make the difference.
In previous months, it had given you such a psychological edge. As you said, teams are coming in, it was almost as if you expected to win. Do you think that's flipped slightly, and how do you grab that back?
I think possibly it has. I'm not sure flipped, but I think it's slightly changed. But I think the only way you can get that back is to win, and to show everybody with your performance how strong you are. So yeah, I think that's our challenge. That's what we want to be. We want to be a really, really good home team. We love playing at home. There's no problem there. I think the players are looking forward to the game. But of course, everything is defined by how you perform.
Quick. Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You're watching Newcastle play now and on Tuesday night as well. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some indifferent. Whereas last year there was that real consistency and that real identity about your team. Is there a frustration that a lot of what you're seeing at the moment is at times actually unrecognisable from what you know and from what you want?
Yeah, it's difficult for me because I sat here every week, Craig, and I don't want to repeat myself. I want to try and give you something new, and
I ask the same questions, that's the problem.
I didn't want to say that. I was trying to be clever with my answer. But I think, yeah, I share some of those emotions of what you've asked in your question. We're not at our fluent best, but there is a lot of good. There is some frustration that it's not quite ourselves, but I think that will come. I've got no doubt that will, once we get back to full strength, hopefully you'll see the real Newcastle again.
And just to look ahead to the summer as well, what's gearing up potentially to be a very busy summer. Now Dan Ashworth's out the building, how are those meetings and those plans taking shape? How are they looking?
I haven't had too many meetings regarding the summer as yet. I'm sure that will gather pace now we're obviously moving closer to the summer window. But they'll be unaffected by Dan's exit.
Scott and then Luke. Probably just off the back of that, Eddie. I mean, we've talked about Joe Linton's kind of contract talks quite a lot. Where are we at, or where are you at, or where are the club at with other players who are either out of contract this summer or heading into the last 18 months? So maybe some of the more kind of fringy ones, people like Dummett, Callum Wilson, obviously contract, Loris Karius, those type of scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily speak on every individual player, but conversations will be happening and possibly have already happened. Regarding those individual players, but everyone that's in our squad now has an opportunity to stay part of our squad for next year, regardless of their contract situation.
So there's nobody who you've made a decision on already won't be getting a new contract?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay. Luke?
What's that successful season look like for you now from this point?
I'm going to avoid the usual sort of target setting, which I don't really like. I think the thing that I want to see is I want to see us perform at our best. I want to see us back to a recognisable, consistent Newcastle team. And that's on and off the ball. I don't think it's quite been there for a while, and I think that's been a frustration, not just for me, but for everybody. So it's all about the performance. I think if we get those performances and we get the true identity that we're looking for, I think the results will come.
And Harvey Barnes, he's had a really frustrating start really to his career, getting the injury so soon. How long do you think it will take him to get up to speed? And when you look at somebody like Anthony Gordon, who didn't have the impact that he's had this season in his first 6 months, is that a cautionary tale to people who might be sort of writing him off, as it were?
Yeah, slightly different situations. I mean, Harvey came in and I think at the start of the season and pre-season had done really, really well. Scored against Aston Villa and looked like he would have an incredible season for us. But that's football for you. One moment and he's out of action for a long period of time. I think it's more related to lack of training, in a sense that seeing the very best Harvey, he needs to train for a period of time. He is a goal scorer and a goal scorer of important goals in his career, and I know that he'll do the same. He's already shown enough to say that he will score goals regularly if given the opportunities to do so. He's a very, very important member of our squad. He brings, a real goal threat from that wide position. So I think we all need to, with any player that's just come back from injury, support them, wait, and then they'll produce their best.
Thank you.
Okay.
Simon, Louise, and then Kieran.
Hi Eddie. One of the German papers this week linked Julian Nagelsmann with your job. I'm just wondering, as a manager, I can't imagine what it feels like to have other people linked with your job, or is it part of the game? Does it make you angry? Do you put it aside? Do you dismiss it? What does it feel like when that happens, when you care about the job you do?
Genuinely, it doesn't affect me. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm sat in the seat, and my future will be defined by what I do. No one else.
Yeah. And it's kind of a dirty business when there are managers circling for huge clubs. This summer there's going to be a big merry-go-round of managers. Is this club off limits as far as you're concerned?
Well, yeah, I think that's of course that's up to me to continually prove. But I back myself and my abilities. I think I know my qualities. I know what I try and bring to the job, and I have ambitions for the team and for the club. So I can't control what you guys write and what speculation there is in every sense, and I don't try to get involved in that.
Thanks, Simon. Louise?
Hi, Eddie. Do you still play the piano? Because a few years ago you were learning.
That's a good question. Let's get away from football.
Something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
So do you play?
I was tinkling the ivories last night, actually. Not very well, but yes, I do. Well, I say, do I play? I don't have lessons. I was having lessons a while ago, but I stopped that in support of my sons, really trying to teach them, and I enjoy playing for relaxation and helping them learn.
So are your wife and sons impressed by your abilities?
No, they're not impressed. They're both better than me. The two elder sons that play are both better than me. So one's on grade 4, if anyone knows anything about piano. One's on grade 2, and I'm sort of grade 1 level.
So does it relax you? Is it something that can transport you into a world away from football?
It frustrates me, really, to be honest. It is very, very difficult. And as we all know in this room, as you get older, it's difficult to learn new skills. So, but I'm trying.
What's your best tune?
I am. Yeah. I did try and learn "Take on Me," which is one of my favourite songs, and anyone who's heard that song will know how difficult and how quick that is. But so I'm a long way off that. I can sort of barely, recognise the chorus bit on it.
I mean, were yours musical to begin with? I mean, can you sing and stuff like that?
It's going quite deep.
Take on me.
Yeah, anyone who's heard me sing on karaoke, which is a few select people, will realise I can't sing. I'm not musical in any way, apart from really enjoying listening to it.
Well, if you win the cup, you might have to do a karaoke demonstration.
If we win the cup, I'll do anything.
What final song? That's what we need.
Kieran?
Eddie, have those above you understood the challenges you face? You've talked about everything going against you. Do you feel that support from the people above you as well?
I think, from the people at the club, it's difficult for me to speak for them, but just I felt a support and I felt an understanding for the season that we've had and things that have been thrown at us, things that have happened. And I think that's really important that, from my side, that I do feel that support. Now, as I say, I'm not going to try and put words in people's mouths or anything like that. But I think they've seen from afar how difficult this season's been.
With Sandro, how do you keep him engaged on the training pitches when he obviously can't play?
I think we've spent time with him in a sense of identifying areas of his game that we want to improve, and I think he's got a long time to do that. So we've spent a lot of time with him doing that, and I think that naturally then engages your brain into what you're doing. I think if we hadn't have done that and it was just random training for him and it wasn't specialised, I think that's when he potentially could drift mentally. I have to say he's been very good in supporting his teammates. He's been very good making the training sessions better for everybody. And I think I've definitely seen an improvement in his game, despite the fact he's not playing. And that can sometimes be very difficult to improve your game while not getting the match stimulus that you need. But he has played in, of course, games that we've put on in training, like training games, bigger pitch stuff, and it's important we do that for him so athletically he doesn't suffer.
Oscar?
Just back to the piano, Eddie, to finish off. You said it's frustrating, but has it proved a cathartic distraction during this period? Are you able to forget about football, tactics, team selections, and that?
Yeah, I'd have to say, when I'm playing the piano, I'm not thinking of 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. You know, it is a chance to get away, and it is a rare moment for me to do that, because I think in most other parts of my life, like walking the dog, I'm thinking football. Going to sleep, I'm thinking football. But the rare things you can actually occupy your brain with does take you away from the game.